There's two online.
Well, they don't count.
Okay, welcome back to the continuation of our Monday morning 9 o'clock meeting. It is now 2 o'clock on, that's my day, May 2nd. May 1st, sorry, May 1st, there we go, May Day. It is 2:02. Let the record reflect that we have Commissioner French and Commissioner Cuny are in the conference room. Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Jordan are online. And that's what I know right now. So the continuation, since I wasn't continuing, what's our topic?
Miscellaneous. We were going to cover
Okay.
the letter discussed this morning on the Blake topic.
Okay, very good. I heard that Jeff, of course, I got a draft letter to the commissioners. So Commissioner French, I see your edits.
Yeah, my edits, I was there.
So
I came through.
very good. I read it quickly. So Commissioner Kearns, I'll see if you have any edits or changes to it.
No, I felt it was okay. I guess the only question I have is, do we want to take a stance in the third paragraph as where it says a statewide solution should make it a gross misdemeanor? Do we agree that is the solution? Do we think it should be at least a gross misdemeanor? I don't know. We hadn't had a discussion that I can remember as a full board about we think the penalty should be for this offense. So that was really the only question I had.
Okay.
So,
do you want to address that?
legally speaking, the county cannot make anything a felony. So gross misdemeanor would certainly be the highest. And there are, I don't know that the county has made anything a gross misdemeanor. The statutes on that are interesting. The statute that provides the authority for a county board of commissioners to create a criminal infraction only says misdemeanor.
So I'm just speaking to the letter. The letter is stating that the letter that says a statewide solution should make it a gross misdemeanor for knowingly possessing or knowingly possessing.
My
So
apologies.
That's all I'm saying is I'm just saying, do we feel comfortable as a board stating that's what we think the level of this offense should be? That was my only question.
Any further comments?
Well, I mean, as I remember the conversation with Representative Lowe, the gross misdemeanor was the most he thought that they could get passed at the legislature. So that seemed to be where everybody was gravitating around. There were some that did not want to make it a gross misdemeanor. They just wanted to make it a misdemeanor. But if they just made it a misdemeanor, and I'm not an expert at this, so I don't want you to rely on it. As I remember, if it's just a misdemeanor, you don't have the opportunity to force treatment. But I could be wrong on that, so don't hold me to that. It had to do with the level of treatment that you're eligible for.
Yeah.
And so at least part of that is likely the amount of time that the court would have jurisdiction over it. On a misdemeanor, there would be only 1 year that you could have somebody on, probation or some sort of treatment thing. On a gross misdemeanor, the court has 2 years of jurisdiction or 2 years of oversight in order to implement
the conversation.
treatment.
Thank you
so
for
that's
reminding me.
That's probably the basis.
That was it. Yeah.
For a gross misdemeanor versus
that was what the
misdemeanor.
difference was. Yeah.
And I will say, I Commissioner French, I think you're correct in that. I don't think the legislature, at least this legislature with their makeup, will pass anything tougher than a gross misdemeanor. My question was only, do we feel comfortable putting that in this letter, that that's where we feel that they should be? Or do we want to just leave it at more pass something? Or do we want to say what it is we want them to pass?
I know for my perspective, I'm okay with it being a gross misdemeanor and saying, it's kind of trying to push them that way. I think as we look to what our ordinance is, I think we're going to look to a gross misdemeanor.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm comfortable with having that in there.
Okay.
Just saying, basically kind of gives them the heads up that that's what we're going to be doing. Is pushing that way. So I'm comfortable.
Okay. Can I ask what the edits were that Mr. French jotted down?
Yeah, so it pretty low level. In the third paragraph, first line, a statewide solution should make it a gross misdemeanor for knowingly possessing dangerous illicit drugs, as opposed to for knowing possession of dangerous. It's just grammatical change is all I was trying to do to make it flow a little bit better. That's the only edit I had.
And I would agree, because knowingly is kind of the word
Yes.
that people are using. So
Yeah.
we need to make sure we're stating it that way. Commissioner Jordan.
I have two possible edits. One is in the second line or second paragraph. It says, in line with the framework of bipartisan Senate Bill 5536, which had bipartisan support from 3 of the 4 caucuses. I was thinking of changing that to bipartisan support from the majority of each caucus in the Senate, because those are the only folks who actually voted on that Senate bill. And I went through and looked at who voted for that bill in the Senate, and I think if my calculations were accurate, that it was a majority of the Senate Democrats and a majority of the Senate Republicans both supported that. It never got to the House in that particular form. So I think we just don't know for certain, as a matter of fact, what the level of support was in the other caucuses. So I would prefer to just leave that out if it's okay with everybody else, and just reference the bipartisan support in the Senate only. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that I've got Jeff sitting next to me. So that has the bipartisan support from, do you want each of the caucuses in the Senate? Is that what you said?
Or majority support from each caucus in the Senate.
Or maybe rewording it, the legislature should adopt a policy in line with the framework of Senate Bill 5536, which had bipartisan support in the Senate and would have been an effective way to address this issue.
That's fine with me too.
Yeah, I think that streamlines it.
Can you say that again,
Yeah, you
please?
can say it again.
Slowly now.
So the legislature should adopt a policy in line with the framework of, and then strike the word bipartisan right there. And then say Senate Bill 5536, which had bipartisan support, and then put in the Senate. So strike from 3 of the 4 caucuses, and then finish it, and would have been an effective way to address this issue. That's probably the cleanest way to clean that sentence up.
Thank you. I had one more just suggestion, and that was in the last paragraph, second sentence, it says substance abuse is getting worse. I was thinking of a different phrasing for that, maybe substance misuse or overdose deaths are increasing, or something along those lines. And the reason for that is I think people are increasingly recognizing the the addiction piece of this, right? It's not just about abusive decisions, but it's about addiction and misuse of substances. And I think I actually went back and watched the House debate where they were debating the final bill that came before the House, and it was very clear that both sides of the aisle understand that people are sick, right? It's not just abuse. So I thought that might be a better way to phrase it rather than the word substance abuse.
I'm fine with that wording.
So just to bring it up, the last word of paragraph 3, the last 2 words is also substance abuse. So would you want the same?
I would suggest yes.
So what are you saying to change it to drug addiction?
No, substance misuse.
Oh,
versus-
I'm sorry,
versus
okay.
abuse.
I'd be fine with drug addiction as well, but I think either way.
Do one of one or one of the other?
Sure.
Amber, do you have any?
Strong
other-
feeling. No, I didn't have any, I was gonna suggest rewording Commissioner French, that knowingly, that sounded weird, so thank you. We came up with something.
Yeah.
That was good. I was like, knowing
Great
possession.
minds, what can I say?
Yes, but you actually had a change. I just was pondering. But no, I think, if we wanna change it to misuse, it's kind of the same, to me, same thing, but yeah, I didn't have any other edits that popped out.
You want both of them to be substance misuse? Or do you want one to be drug addiction, one to be substance misuse, to not be repetitive? Do you care?
I don't care.
How about do one of each?
Yeah, maybe put drug addiction up.
Up at the top one, is that
So
okay?
I'll go drug addiction in paragraph 3 and misuse in the final paragraph.
And then I think Mike was suggesting this morning, this should be to the governor and the legislature. Do folks have an opinion on that? It doesn't matter to me. I just thought I heard him say that.
I think it should go to all of them.
Like all 150 legislators?
Mike
or-
said he would handle that, but I think in terms of the address, it should be the governor, the House and Senate, I think. That's just me.
Yeah.
No, I
So
think
you
so.
can get clarity from Mike Burgess on that, but I would.
And he was saying the local delegation specifically,
Yeah.
and then.
I thought I put the CC at the bottom for discussion. I
Yeah,
thought I heard him say governor, caucus leaders, and local delegation. But yeah, if we do them all, that hits them too.
Well, he can distribute it to all of them through an email.
So Governor Inslee and state legislators.
That sounds good.
That's what I would do.
And then do you want it released? Jared had the question, do you want it released to the local media once it's cleaned up?
Yes.
Yes.
Preface that with Friday, I got a few inquiries and I just told, you might have seen, but I just told him the commissioners were talking about it this week, which was last, and we are expected to talk about it on Monday. So they're waiting for us.
So do we, so I know technically the legislature can call themselves into an executive session, but do we want this addressed to Inslee? Because in the first paragraph, it says, we are requesting that you immediately call a special session to pass it. And then at the very bottom, I mean, it's CC'd to, well, so are we just going to CC it instead of local delegation to all legislators, but are we going to leave it addressed to Inslee, or are we going to have this addressed to Inslee and all senators and reps?
My thought was,
I'm just trying to clear up what it is the plan is.
my original thought was it'd be addressed to the governor and copied to others.
Okay.
What I just thought I heard was we would address it to the governor and state legislators.
I'm kind of going back to the COVID days. Remember when we wanted them to declare a special session to end the state of emergency, and the legislature said it's up to the governor, and the governor just didn't take any action, and so, but the legislature basically hid behind the governor's inaction. So that's why I was kind of going, send it to all of them and make all of them own it.
So there actually won't be a CC. Because I don't think you actually CC local media, do you?
No,
So there won't be a CC there. That was really just for conversation.
Does it still read correctly then in the first paragraph? Because either, so what you're saying
Yeah, we
is
said
the
the
governor
governor.
can call a session or the legislators, each body can,
I believe it's a 2/3 majority of the legislature can call themselves back together.
Y'all? All y'all.
well, I mean, if you read it, it just says you. We ask that you call a session.
If it's addressed to all of them,
Yes, then there you go.
grammatically, doesn't that mean we're asking all of them to do
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
So I think that works.
you could just say, we are requesting that and a special legislative session be,
Like that.
just make it general.
Requesting that a special legislative session is called to pass.
That would work.
Everybody like that one?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll strike all of that. And then is it correct that it'll be the 5 commissioners, the sheriff and the prosecutor? So then timeline, I will clean this up, get it to Gina to format. I don't know what order signatures go in when we have 7. And then for tomorrow's agenda, does that work?
So share the updated draft with
That'll give us time if they can
prosecutor-
turn it
the
that way.
prosecutor and the sheriff.
I wouldn't share till I had it. Do I wait for Gina to have it formatted pretty?
No, I
Or
would
do I just send it as
I would-
language?
share, update the language. I'd share it with John and Larry just to get their buy-off.
Yeah, as soon as,
I think
just so they have a
Chris, what
chance.
you're seeing, it should be fine.
That's been, it sounds relatively consistent with the conversations I've had with Larry so far.
And I think it's consistent with what I've had with John.
Is there anybody in their offices I should CC or just to those 2 individuals directly?
If you don't mind copying me on it, that'd be, in case Larry wants to discuss.
And I think Heather, John's assistant, just so. Melissa Martinez.
I know Heather is out until the 4th.
Oh, is she out?
Yeah.
Okay. So, try to call John.
Make sure someone's checking his email.
Anything else?
Okay. And you might run this by Burgess as well today.
I did send it to him already to
Okay,
get his thoughts before. I've not heard back yet.
okay.
I'll clean it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Jordan. You started it.
Now we're gonna work on Christmas cards.
Okay, so are there any other miscellaneous items? Seeing none, then we have a couple executive session items. So Chris, I'm gonna let you discuss.
Yes, I have 2 executive session items under pending potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1I. The first is in regard to an agreement between the county and the city of Airway Heights in regards to funds from the Spokane tribe, tribal gaming land and those impacts. The second is in regards to requests and communication that was received from the Superior Court. The first should take about 15 minutes. And the second, I would say, 45 minutes.
And do you anticipate any action?
Not today.
Okay, and who will be in the first one and the second one?
I think based on the nature and talking to Dale, we can probably have the same group stay for the entire one. So it should be the board, myself, Dale Anderson will be present for the first one, as well as Mike Sparber and Randy Bischoff, who can be present for both. Yes, and Scott Simmons as well. Apologies.
Thanks, Scott. Maybe.
I just
Come on.
assume
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Okay. So we are gonna go into executive session for 1 hour. It is 2:21 right now. So we'll be in well, it's 2:22. So we will be in executive session until 3:22. No decisions are expected to be made. So at that point in time, then we will adjourn for the day and see everybody tomorrow at 2 o'clock at our 2 o'clock meeting. Thank you. And do we have a separate